All right. Hello, everybody. This is Mauricio, otherwise known as RGE. Happy New Year. I hope you guys are doing this great on the first day of the year. Welcome back to our new episode of Flyover Review, or in this case, uh, ground photography review of Starbase, Texas. These images were taken on December 30th, 2021, and I will now be passing this along to our commentators, Grandpa Joe and Zach Golden.
Hey everybody, how's it going? This is a Golden Boy, aka CSI Starbase, and I'm here with Grandpa Joe. Grandpa Joe.
Hello, Grandpa Joe joining. Thanks for having us, guys.
Yeah, glad to be with you guys at the very first day of the year. Trying to get stuff started off nicely, you know what I mean? Luckily, Mauricio went out here and put in a lot of work yesterday to get these pictures so that we can have something to talk about today because the weather wasn't really that great for flying over this week. There was a lot of fog. So, for the sake of keeping us up to date on what's going on, I'm glad that he was able to go out there and get these shots for us so that we can kind of give you guys an update on, what's new at Starbase this week. And
He picked a great moment to go. They were just doing the booster 4 lift, so he managed to catch it in the air. So lots of over 300 exciting photos to go through.
This is literally your first picture of the day, Mauricio?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I was out in the dunes that day.
It can't get much better than that. You
never know what you're
chose not to take any pictures until this was in the air.
Right. It was a waiting game. I was out there for a while trying to figure out when they're going to do it. So,
Saving your camera battery.
right. Something you don't see every day, right?
Oh yeah, I think every time they take this booster off of the launch mount, it looks different. I think everything actually is the same this time, but it's really interesting to notice how they covered up all of the QD ports here. Got some good old duct tape on there.
I've heard they've learned some valuable lessons in other facilities where they didn't tape that up. They had wasps come in and build a little nest in those ports.
Yeah, I think it's a good season for that right now.
Yeah.
This whole thing, I'm surprised that it's not covered up yet. Hopefully, while it's sitting on the ground, they'll get that stuff taken care of because it all looks like a nest already. I'm sure birds really won't have to do much work in order to establish a home in there. So they probably need to get that covered up pretty quickly.
Yes, sir. The clock is ticking. And now that it is off of
season.
the orbital launch table, it will be much easier to attach the engine covers, the aerodynamic covers for this section here.
Right. I'm kind of wondering with the version 2 Raptor if they're even going to have a need for the second cover, or if it'll all just be like one flat skirt down here.
It's a good idea. They might integrate a lot of shielding into the engine itself. Also of note, while we're looking at the Raptor version 1 engines, these have a lot of extra sensors, a lot of extra cables, and a lot of testing that goes into this. Raptor version 2 is going to be far simplified, look a lot cleaner, and hopefully, might be even more reliable and powerful.
I was really hoping that for Christmas we would get a picture of what the Raptor 2 looks like because, Elon has hyped it up a lot, in my opinion. We've seen so many videos of them doing actual, static fire engine tests with the Raptor 2s, but we haven't actually seen one yet. I don't even know if it's real,
There is a lot of coverage over at the McGregor test facility, and they have recordings of the Raptor 2, which you can hear a distinct difference in the tone between the Raptor 1s and the Raptor 2s. Also, Elon has gone on the record saying that all the testing we're hearing is a Raptor 2, and they are going full steam ahead with that production. Speaking of, briefly, they have had a lot of troubles getting the production ramped up, and they've made a lot of personnel changes to help get that launched off the ground, figuratively, and soon, literally.
Well, let's continue through these pictures. See what we got. Actually, one thing that I want to point out before we go, I really like the way that these engines, for the most part, are all in order. There was a few locations around where they kind of broke that order, but for the most part, they're all pretty much in order of like when they were produced. A lot of people keep talking about the way that these bells don't even look green anymore, and they kind of are a little bit rusted. I'm actually interested to see what these look like after the first static fire, because I have a feeling they'll all look the exact same after that.
I believe so.
Ooh.
After the static fire, the green in the Inconel should melt away into a darker bronze to black. About a year ago, we had an Inconel expert come on and gave us the full rundown of what we should expect to see. The green ones are cold rolled Inconel, which is for those who don't know, it's a special mixture of metals that SpaceX uses that has good cooling properties. I believe it has nickel, copper, and some other materials in it.
So close to being able to see what this sticker is.
So, Mauricio, do you want to tell us what we're looking at here? This is the Booster 4 getting lifted off. Do you have any insight into why they were picking it up that day?
I'm honestly not sure why they were doing it. They moved it onto a test to a stand, and then later on that night they moved it over to, I think, where the landing pad used to be, right? Or
Yeah,
closer to
yeah,
the landing.
it's basically a small staging pad. It's not really the staging pad, but it's like a parking lot where they're supposed to have a suborbital test stand for the boosters. I think I call it suborbital C just because we've already named the other ones A and B. But basically, where suborbital C is supposed to be is where booster 4 is sitting right now. So I think they took it off for like a combination of reasons. So number one, most of the tests that they were doing were not necessarily related to the booster as much as they were the actual launch mount itself. And so they went through the process of commissioning the entire launch mount, which is like the fueling system, the detanking process, the pressurization, the actual startup of the outer 20 engines, the filling of the COPVs, like making sure that the table is actually doing what it's supposed to do. And now that they've done that, they take the booster off, and then they can pretty much close up everything on the launch table. I think hopefully soon we'll see them add covers to all of the cryo lines on the table. I'm really hoping they put a full like skirt around the outside of the table because again, it's nesting season and there's lots of holes for those birds to get into. I don't think anybody's going to be. I mean, if they want to hire me, I'll go in there and I'll clear out the bird nest. If they want to leave it open, that's probably a good alternative. Like I'll take care of that for them. But
absolutely, sir. But I don't think they could afford you.
I'll do it for free. Actually, I will.
So we're getting a couple of questions in from YouTube, so I'll pass those along. Maria asked, "Do you know when Starship orbital launch is scheduled?" I'll take this one. The orbital launch can happen not before the FAA completes its review of the environmental assessment. They're doing this in conjunction with SpaceX, and the two together have pushed back at least until March 1st. So the absolute earliest it could occur would be March 1st, but with integration testing, tower testing, I personally would speculate that it might be moved to the last part of March or early April at the earliest.
Yeah, that's pretty disappointing. I think one of the interesting things that I saw Elon say recently was that that regulatory process is basically setting their schedule. So basically, everything depends on that. So they're not in a rush to get things done because they can't launch, essentially. So
right. No need
if
to
they have
hire
the ability to
extra
launch
staff
right
to-
now, we would see them rushing a lot more to get the launch table and the launch tower done. Speaking of that, they have not done testing on the launch tower yet, and that is interesting to me.
Yeah, they are big news this week, and we'll get to the pictures of the tower cleanup in a minute. While we're on this picture, Line Craftsman asked, I see tabs on the edges of the main covers. Have we seen the actual covers that will go on top of the engines?
Yes. I had a feeling this was going to happen. I have an aerial picture of this. Let's see. Might take me a little bit to find it, but I know we have one.
Exactly. We're looking for that. I just wanted to call out a couple of new members. P and What, thank you for becoming a member. Geoff Allen, thank you for becoming a member. And Matt. And just FYI, all the images that we're looking at here, I went ahead and posted a Dropbox link for all members. So if you want to become a member, you get to download these files to look at on your own time.
Well, that was a mistake.
That's all right. Tell
Yeah,
you
we
what, how
should-
about we'll find those pictures and then come back. I do believe we have seen them before, but we'll get to them
Yeah,
soon.
it's, I think that's maybe we should just stick to these ones for now. They
Yeah.
because you guys will send me on all kinds of rabbit holes, and I'm always willing to go on them. So maybe today's not the day for that. Let's stick to the ground shot. All right. So continuing on, I love this angle, and you know what? I did not see this thing arrive. I think it got painted while it was on site because I've never seen this red wind services boom lift before.
Zach, we're seeing a black screen right now.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not good. Hold on 1 second.
There we go. Pardon us while we work through some minor technical difficulties. I can see it now. It looks great. Got a red, looks like a boom lift.
Yeah, I think this one is actually brand new. I did not see this one arrive actually. But the actual cool thing about this picture is just the angle that Mauricio got on ship 20. And I'm really proud of ship 20, guys. It only lost 2 tiles this time, and I actually thought this was going to be the time where it wouldn't lose any, but that's not too bad.
So, what do you think the maximum tile loss that a starship could take?
0.
0?
Yeah.
So, under the tiles there is a little bit of a heat fiber blanket, and then stainless steel under that, and behind that cryogenic fluid. So, here's hoping that maybe losing 1 tile won't be the end of the mission.
It will behind in the nose cone right here. You're not going to have any cryogenic fluids behind this. So this area in particular is like super sensitive. So if they were to lose heat tiles up here, you'd be in trouble.
Agreed.
You'd be in trouble. Hopefully there's no passengers on that. I think one of the things about this is that if they're able to get out and do, space walks, what do they call it? The EVA walks. They should have a set of 40 of these tiles on board or something like that. And once they get up into orbit, somebody's got to get out there with a set of Austin. Austin's going to do it. Have Austin get out there and, patch up any missing tiles before we come back in for reentry. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I couldn't think of a better man for the job.
The space shuttle actually is that they should just have at least one of every one that they need on board.
And one of the key innovations with starships is uniform tiles for the most part, and they snap into place. Literally, we've seen staff just put them on and beat them in by hand. So, yep, our guy Austin, he could definitely do it. Time to send him to space.
I agree. We should petition for that.
We'll start it. #Austin.
Yeah. So
we got a new super chat here from Drop Bear. Thank you for that. Drop Bear, if you can, just send me a message via Twitter or so I can send you the Dropbox link here so you can download it and look through it yourself.
Wow, thanks a lot, Drop Bear. That's mighty kind of you.
Yeah, definitely. This is the full gallery, by the way. So this is Mauricio actually took 300 pictures, and and to tell you guys the truth, we haven't had a chance to actually go through all these first. So we're actually going to go through all 300 of them with you. So at some points I will start skipping through them. But we're going to pay attention to the comments, and if you guys have questions on anything that we pass over, definitely say something in the comments. You can use at question, and we will see that question pop up and try and answer them for you.
Actually, it's exclamation point question.
Exclamation point. Sorry.
Yeah, and those will be highlighted and sent directly to us, and we'll be answering those right off.
Yeah. So continuing on, one of the big things that I'm glad we finally have a picture of is this this assembly right here that they added back onto the launch mount. It was really weird that they had removed it in order to do the initial testing. I think the reason that we saw so much venting on the launch mount was because this was on here. This was missing. So this is actually, there's no official confirmation on what this is, but given what we see on the actual assembly itself, we're assuming that these are flame arresters. So the booster outer 20 engines have the 20 QD ports that are on the engines that we saw on the first picture, actually. And
the
so
one's covered up in duct tape.
Yes. And so one of those ports is most likely going to handle the Raptor chill venting that we see. So all of that liquid or gaseous oxygen at that point that we tend to see coming out of the vehicle before launch, that's something that you really don't want to happen. So when it's on the suborbital test stand with the Starship, we see a ton of venting, and that's basically we've seen what it looks like with 6 engines at this point. We haven't seen anything more than that. We haven't seen what it looks like when you're doing it with 29 or 33 engines. And to tell you the truth, we really don't want to see that, because that's going to be a waterfall of liquid oxygen essentially pouring over the side of the table. And when you have 20 clamps and you have 20 quick disconnects that all are very critical that they actually do disconnect and they do release the clamp, you don't want that much gaseous oxygen just dumping over the side of the table. I mean, at the very coldest, what's the boiling temperature of?
Negative 181 Celsius, I believe.
Yeah. So at the very least, it might be that cold, and you don't want something that temperature pouring onto your clamps.
So you said earlier that you believe that contraption of pipes there is a flame arrestor, or do you think it's a part of the quick disconnect to prevent it from spilling over?
So when you're having that Raptor chill, so instead of it dumping over the side of the table, it'll basically get pulled into the table through those quick disconnects, and it should come out through here. And the actual
back,
we'll see it in a second where the vent is. It's on the bunker, so I'll show you guys that in a few minutes, and I'll try and remember that we were talking about it. But so right before the engines ignite, you're gonna switch from a mostly oxygen mixture to like an oxygen plus methane, because that's what the pre-burner uses. So when that happens, the valve is like, once the engines start is when this system will shut down as far as closing itself off, because you don't want to be receiving flames through this, but you're going to, at least for a few seconds. So before that valve shuts, you're going to have gaseous oxygen and methane mixture in this pipe, and it's going to explode. So they need to, this basically is what they're doing to reduce that explosion, or basically to stop it from traveling all the way back through the system. And because this was not installed is why we saw so much venting, in my opinion, on the launch mount.
Very good. Real quick aside, they have located the picture of the covers. It's in the live comms channel. Would you like to share those so we can show everyone what we believe the covers will look like?
Yeah, do it. They actually look like fake nails, in my opinion. They're very shiny. They had these sitting out for like 2 or 3 weeks, and I don't know what they did with them. I think they put them in one of the tents that's out there, and they just have yet to install them. So that's one of the things that we probably should be on the lookout for, is them installing these relatively soon. I think that they should be doing that. There's no reason not to. Now that they have all the engine tests done, they should know that the launch mount is working as far as that stuff goes, and it's, in my opinion, probably should be okay to cover everything up, but we'll see.
Yep, looking forward to those, and
yeah,
definitely it would be heavy on the hand to wear those nails.
Yes. Yeah.
Chris from YouTube asked, have y'all had the chance to actually chat to any of the engineers that work there? And Chris, the answer is a very big affirmative. The SpaceX staff are very open and appreciative of the community. And they're very busy, and they're often specialized, so they may not have all the answers. But on many occasions when I've been down there, we've had plenty of great opportunities to chat with staff, all the way from the on-site welders to the plenty of times with the security guards, all the way up to Sam Patel, the Starbase operation manager, has stopped by and chatted with us once.
Wait, you talked to Sam?
Yeah.
Man, you talk to
met him at
everybody.
the
I need to hang out with
party
you
for
next time we
Boca
go.
Chica. I know, you got to hang out with me, sir. I meet everybody down there.
I like to take pictures, so I just wander around by myself, but I think I'm going to hang out with you next time.
Absolutely, sir. I welcome it. Also, Michelle, a friend of ours who goes down there with us, wonderful at sweet talking everybody, and everybody loves her, and they just tell her everything she wants to know. Next question. Any theory on why the barrel sections for Starship change sizes or the number of rings? And do you want to cover that, Zach?
I don't know about that one.
So there's been a proposal that Elon Musk has mentioned to add a number of rings. And there's been some evidence that future Starships going past 25 will have 2, 3, possibly even 4 rings added. The benefit of adding those rings is that you now have more fuel and more delta V. That's a change in velocity, and you can get higher payloads to orbit. Right now, they're looking at a minimum of 100 tons to orbit. With 3 or 4 more rings, you can almost get 200 tons to orbit, which is almost doubling of capability. So big implications there by making it slightly taller.
Yeah, the good news is that the lifting points on the Starship are basically below the flaps, so it can actually get considerably taller if they wanted to, and still they wouldn't have to change anything with the tower, because they have plenty of room to allow the Starship to get taller, and I really hope that happens. And I hope they stretch the booster too, honestly. With having a wider, a taller high bay, I think that gives them the ability to add that half a ring back that they took away. So get us back up to 70 meters, unless Elon is really stuck on being 69-meter tall booster. They should get back up to 70 and potentially even more. I mean, they're adding additional Raptors, so I don't know. I feel like they should stretch the tank too. It just seems like that's bound to happen. I think nobody's asked him, and that's why he hasn't said anything about it. So we should probably.
While we're here on this picture, could you give us a brief tour of the other parts and pieces we're looking at? I see some pneumatic lines, some compression over at pressure vessels.
Yeah, these ones. Can't remember what these ones are. They have labels on them. I don't think we're going to be able to see them on this one. They might be the COPV. So the COPVs are these pressure vessels on the side, and I think I don't think these are for loading the COPVs. I think that's on the backside. These might just be valves for the inside of the table. I think we have a closer picture coming up. We'll try.
Yeah, Zach. I think there's a photo that you can actually see the text on one of those.
Also, I've just posted a picture of a longer Starship.
Elon needs to tell us if the booster's getting taller or not. You think the picture's coming up soon? I'm going to skip through these.
It should be in the live comms channel. So the Starship system is very second stage Delta V heavy, meaning that the booster is not going to get the whole system moving as fast. And you're going to have much more of the velocity come from the very large upper stage. And one of the beauties of having a reusable, integrated large upper stage is the bigger it gets, the more surface area it has, and the more it can slow itself down, especially when it's empty. So it ends up becoming an asset rather than a deficit.
Oh, here, I'll show you. I don't know if I can zoom this out enough. Let's see, here we go. Stretched Starship. I don't know. I think that looks better than the original.
I know. I kind of think so, too.
I think they need to stretch it ASAP. I like it.
Let's make it.
Yeah. Stretch the booster, too. Just a little bit. At least get us up to 70 meters, you know. You know, every time I open up a picture, it closes out this window for some reason.
All right. Well, what are we looking at here?
Yeah. So right here is actually the berm, which I think might be completed. They have a half a layer that's missing up here, which I don't understand why they haven't done it. They have the.
So those, for those not familiar, a berm is an earthen dam. It's just a little hill that they build to deflect the exhaust gases from the rocket so it doesn't damage other equipment.
Yeah, it's basically a ramp for the flames to go up. Ideally, when you're standing at the bottom of this ramp, you don't want to see any of the tops of these tanks. So I have a feeling that if you're standing at the bottom down here, you won't be able to see the top of these tanks at all. It should deflect all the way above them, so that any explosions in this area won't take out the whole farm. And I hate like even thinking about explosions in this place because this berm, I just don't, it's not enough.
You have to prepare
here, it's bad. It's really bad.
No, that would be a really rough day down on the island in Boca Chica.
The main goal with this is protecting these tanks. Period. Like especially the methane tanks are a problem. I think that one of the things that they need to do is get more of these horizontal tanks, and I don't know how, but they're gonna. If I was them, I would put them underground because that's the only thing that makes sense. I mean, it's if those tanks rupture, then it's a major problem, and they're never gonna recover from an event like that if those tanks spill. So, in my opinion, they need the maximum amount of protection. Like if you lose one of these, the liquid nitrogen tanks or the liquid oxygen, you still have a pretty big problem, but it's not as bad as if you lose that methane tank.
No, so even if it was
putting
just
them underground is only makes sense, and they also need more of them because I don't think they're ever going to be able to use this as a methane tank ever.
No,
I don't know what they're going to do.
They will need. We were calculating it out earlier. They'll need 900 metric tons of methane just for the booster, and several hundred tons more for the Starship. So that is a lot of methane. How many more tanks do you think they're going to need out there?
Well, so there's two smaller tanks that are behind this wall that we can't see, originally I think we were kind of assuming they were part of the detank process, which would basically mean that when you're emptying out all your methane, you want a place to store it temporarily before you put it back into the main tanks, and the only reason you need to do that is so that you have a chance to capture all of the gaseous methane and liquefy it again, because you're not going to be venting it out of the tank farm like you do with the liquid oxygen. You have to recover pretty much all of it unless you're going to burn it away. Speaking of burning it away, they actually have a vent stack over here now, which is interesting. Will be surprised if they actually use this flare very often. But that'll be the first time we know that they have methane in here, is if this flare gets activated.
And
sure
that may be just there by requirement to satisfy regulation.
Right. So what I was saying, I think those other two tanks may not be part of the detank process. They might actually be primary storage tanks. So it may not be only these two that they have for methane storage. If they're using the other two for methane storage as well, then they may actually have enough to do a full launch right now. So I don't know. I haven't looked at the piping setup close enough to be able to say whether or not that is the case. There's some good diagrams out there by the tanks, so I don't know. I could pull it up, but
I'm thinking let's go to the next picture and take a look.
Oh, speaking of the vent stack that I was telling you guys about before, it comes out of the building right here. So where the Raptor chill venting should come out from behind this wall. This pipe right here, we can't see the actual stack. It basically goes up right here. All of that venting should come out of here. And there's another one on the other side as well too. And so all of that will come up from behind the wall instead of on the launch mount, which is really good because it, removes all of that freezing cold gas from the launch table and keeps your clamps from, icing over and whatnot.
By the way, to the uninitiated, if you love rockets, well, you get to have an addiction to learning about pipes, cryogenic fluid, and gas transfer. It's all fun and games until you have to learn thermodynamics. Mauricio, do you want to jump in and ask a question?
Yeah, did we have some questions in the comments?
We did. We have a few donations. We'll go over in a moment. Right now, someone was asking, do we know how much methane those horizontal tanks can hold?
No, not really. The problem is that the tanks, this isn't the actual tank, it's just the jacket. So similar to the way that these tanks are a tank within a tank, we don't know what the inside of these look like. So we can only really guess how big they are on the inside. I mean, there's a possibility it's really not that big of a difference between the inner diameter and this outer diameter, but there is going to be
there's going to be insulation, so it'll have a smaller diameter.
It might actually be vacuum.
Vacuum insulated?
Yeah, I think so.
That's where there's just a slight gap with the vacuum in between the inner tank and the outer tank, and that prevents the heat transfer.
Yeah.
Line Craftsman asked a good question, going back to the previous picture, but is it possible that the center Raptor engines are connected to the vent through the QD port?
Say that again?
Are the center engines connected to the quick disconnect port? And I guess he's asking, are they chilled through that? And does it exit out through the same
They're not.
place?
I think that the center engines may actually, they may just be used to do the autogenous pressurization. So by using the venting from those center engines, you can send it back up to the tank itself and repressurize the whole tank. The problem with that is you have to stop early, so that you don't want methane going back up into that tank. So that's the difference between the center engines and the outer ones. Is the outer ones, they'll keep collecting it all the way up until the moment where the engines turn on, and they'll allow that flame to travel back through. But you can't do that with the actual pressurization system. You don't want methane going back into the liquid oxygen tank.
All right.
So we may actually see the center engines vent directly down from the engine bells.
All right, let's get to the next picture.
Yeah. Kind of just moving through these. I really like the way that Mauricio took these pictures because he kind of,
Stitches.
Just scrolled through this whole scene, which is really nice because it gives us a bunch of different views of this.
Right. Hey, Zach.
Yeah.
Real quick here. The reason I do that is I have the tendency to stitch images and create a high resolution panorama. But I haven't created this particular one yet.
Right. Were you going to do a panorama of this whole tank farm? I would love that.
I was thinking about that and one of the tower as well.
Yeah, I may pull that up in a little bit. I really liked that panorama of the tower that you did a few months back. So one of the things I'm not sure if a lot of people know, so a lot of the venting that you see from the tank farm before during the cryo tests recently comes from the back of these. So these are actually very similar to like exhaust caps that you would see on a lot of like really large diesel generators.
What are those?
These are they're called kettle boilers, so kettle reboilers actually, and they fill them up with liquid nitrogen, and then through the top they pump the liquid oxygen, and then that runs through a whole bunch of coils on the inside, and the liquid nitrogen will make the liquid oxygen way colder as it's submerged in it.
Is the liquid nitrogen evaporating, and that evaporation takes away the heat from the oxygen?
Right. And as the liquid nitrogen evaporates, it's going to come out of these, and actually the pressure of that evaporation will cause this to open. They don't have any mechanical way of opening this. It's just based on pressure. So as the gas pressure builds up, these will like flap open, kind of like an exhaust on a semi truck or something like that.
Yeah. We were running some calculations on the amount of fuel needed, and we discovered that not only would you need 400 tanker trucks just to deliver oxygen and methane for the booster, I realized after I said that you also have to deliver another 200 tanker trucks of liquid nitrogen to super chill the oxygen and methane, and that's just for the booster, and that's each launch. So a lot of tanker trucks.
Yeah, I think we have a few new members. We should give a shout out to.
Absolutely. Faya Vanpre is a new member, and they are an RGV flight supporter. Welcome to the club. I just joined myself last week. I was inspired by this Rocket Talk to do that. Rocket donated $9.99. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate all the help. Dad J08, he donated $19.99. Keep up the great work, guys. Thanks, Dad. We appreciate it. Are there any more?
We have a few questions. We actually have a new member, Keith Tay. I hope I said that right, Keith Tay. And he had a question: are the horizontal CH4 tanks a standard industrial size? And have you counted the number of rings on them? I haven't counted the number of rings because I just don't know if it matters. I don't even know the actual length of them. I actually calculated it out before because I was figuring out the space in between the footings when I was trying to figure out if they were going to fit in that location initially. I think they're like roughly 70 meters long. And no, we don't really know. I mean, they are an industrial standard size because these are tanks that are taken from a production facility.
Can you go to that picture showing the tanks so we can
Yes.
see what you're?
Yeah. I'm gonna have to.
I know it's a little bit of back and forth.
It's fine.
Yeah. I mean, we all love looking at tanks.
I like back and forth. Oh, okay.
There we go. Oh, there's a great picture of them from above.
This is an older picture. Let me get us on a current one.
And while we're thinking about it, let's give a big shout out to Mr. RGV Aerial Photography for flying as often as he can and taking pictures of all this from above. Without him, we would know so much less, and we really thank him every day whenever we get to look through these photos and learn more.
Yeah, this is a really great angle. Actually, there's a lot of cool things in this photo. So, the question was if these are standard industrial size. So, one of the reasons that they have these tanks is because they came from a facility where they were already certified for their purpose, which is most likely to store methane, liquid methane. And because they're certified, they can use these as temporary tanks, whereas this is the two permanent methane tanks that they originally wanted to use. But the problem with those tanks is that they can't do what they need to do as far as protecting them. And by protecting, I mean establishing a 6-foot wall around them. So I kind of explained this recently on Twitter, which is this wall. These tanks are required to have a 6-foot wall around them, and that wall has to be 2 feet away from the edge of the tank. And a lot of people have asked, well, is that the inside tank or the outside tank? Like nobody knows how big the inside tank is, so you're not measuring to the inside tank. It's the jacket is part of the tank, so that's where the wall. That's where the measurement is taken. So the wall has to be at least 2 feet away from this tank, and that's what you see going all the way around it. Is this concrete wall protecting it? There's actually one down here as well too. See if I can get to it really quick. Luckily, I have these actually pretty well organized right now.
Hey, big thanks to Jeff Weiss, $25.
Jeff
He
Weiss.
says,
"Thank you, Jeff.
Happy New Year's." That's one of our friends down in Boca. Great guy, Jeff. Thank you.
Yeah, you can actually see this wall down here. They still have it framed up a little bit. It's kind of hard to see.
Yeah, but that meets those requirements
exactly.
for methane. Yep, and that's what's going to allow them to fill those up, and they'll obviously need a few more, and burying them would be a great idea.
Yeah, one of the other things that's important to note is that all of the piping is also within that wall, which is something they weren't able to do with this. Like you can't put a wall in around this tank. You can put it around 3 sides of it, but going through the middle is where they have the problem because you can't get within. There's no way of getting 2 feet away from this wall.
Somebody on YouTube asked a good question right there. The water tank has darker weld lines. Do we know why they haven't painted over that just yet?
Well, they actually stripped it off. They stripped the paint off of all of the welds, and some people have speculated that they were analyzing the welds. I haven't really seen any evidence of that. They usually do that like after when they're building it in the first place. And so I don't think that that's what they were doing. I'm pretty sure that they're just in the process of upgrading this tank and
adding the outer bands to give it additional structure.
This is my opinion, and I'm not like I don't build tanks for a living. Like, and clearly SpaceX shouldn't either sometimes in this case. But like this tank, in my opinion, I've never seen a water tank that doesn't have bands around it. Like it's just
If you filled
standard.
that,
I've never seen a tank this large that doesn't have bands around it. And I've said before, like if it was that easy, if all you need to do is make a 9mm stainless steel tank, and that's all it takes to remove the bands, then why isn't every water tank like that?
Yeah, they're
So
going to have those bands. If
yeah,
they
they
filled
have
that up now, I firmly believe it would burst just due to
yeah,
the hydrostatic pressure.
it would be
All
very
right,
scary to pull this up.
we got 300 pictures to look through, and let's jump back to the ground
Thank you
pictures.
for keeping me on topic.
Glad to, sir. We've hung out enough. Don Mosensen asked, if you had to guess, how much do you think the CH4 tank issue will delay booster testing? And I will say that I'll venture a guess that it will not delay testing appreciably, that they'll have enough on-site approved cryogenic methane storage that they can at least do testing, if not loading. And I'm certain that they'll have all of that worked out by the launch window, which should open up sometime in March.
That's one of the things that I'm waiting for more than anything, is to just see a methane tanker go down that road.
Yeah.
That's going to be a big day when the
Huge.
first methane tanker is spotted over there. That means that we're making progress. But until that happens, we're going to keep dreaming about it. Booster static fires.
So that right there, that trailer-looking building, is an electrical substation, relay station, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. That is where all the magic and electricity happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We a couple of us got to watch them building that, and they had the inside open. You can see it from the roadway. Full of electrical transformers, relays, and all sorts of stuff to make sure they have power for the station.
I just see Stephen Lewis in the comments saying you can't change the booster height without modifying the SQD arm, and that is a very good point.
Great point. That's very true.
Yep. He's right. Can't do it. Well, they can probably at least make it 70 meters tall, man. Just let us get another meter, Stephen. God.
So Rayner asked a good question. Are those containers for personnel? Because they evacuate the area all the time if they use the farm. They do have offices in containers. I believe they call those Connexes. And they do have offices where engineers will work out of those containers. But during an area evacuation, such as for booster testing, table testing, or suborbital testing, they will have everyone leave those containers and go evacuate the area.
Yeah, these containers right here are just for the on-site staff, the construction crew, basically. So they have a place for their lunch breaks. I fully expect these to be taken away once the first suborbital or the first orbital launch pad is completed. They probably won't have as much of a need for those, but
I'm willing to bet they will stay there until a booster blows them up.
Oh man!
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen. And well, we have a great donation from our wonderful Indian Star, $30. Well done, gents. Very informative. Thank you. And I'll shine a brief light. Indian Star is one of our members of the community, and she helps us out immensely. We thank her every day for all of her contributions.
Definitely. Thank you for your donation, Indian Star. I feel like I'm going to have to give it back to you, though.
You are.
Is she here?
She is. I just heard her. You're the best.
I'm here.
Well, you can introduce yourself, Indian Star.
I am unmuted, my friend.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, Indian Star.
I think we should carry on with the photos, no?
Absolutely. All right, so getting back to Golden Boy Stream, you have a stairwell going up the outside of the table leg. That is very precarious and in desperate need of some cover.
Yeah.
I don't
Covered up.
think that that's going to survive a launch without a cover installed over it.
Yeah. And neither are these pipes that are going up the leg. Pretty much every leg that has pipes going up, it needs to have covers over them. I think we've started to see the first of those covers show up, and I think Mauricio actually has a picture of those at some point. See,
they've also been telltale sign is they've been painted the same SpaceX gray that is part of the table in the tower.
Are they gray now?
Yeah. I've seen a recent picture where they were painted gray.
Didn't Starship Gazer capture them being painted again?
Again?
They got painted like 2 times already, right?
Really? Well, maybe we'll find a picture of that. So,
right.
Oh man, I love these pictures like this because you get to see just how big these pipes are, especially when you got a big dude like this standing next to it. Like, this guy is not small. These pipes are massive.
And they are covered with cryogenic insulation. So much like the tanks, the inner diameter there is a bit smaller.
Yeah, and one of the only areas that you'll see where there'll be any frost coming off of these lines is at these joints right here, because they haven't covered those, and I don't know if they will. It really doesn't make sense to. Like, you'll never see them cover those in an industrial setting. At least I've never seen that. But they will put a cover over this entire leg at some point, just to give an additional protection, because you don't want this stuff like experiencing a 500-foot long flame. Actually, I think it's 900 feet long from the booster.
Be toasty little marshmallows right there.
Toasty, yeah, super toasty. So hopefully they get these covered up soon, and the stairwell as well, because this doesn't really look like it's meant for experiencing 33 engines either, to me.
Only one way to find out.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on to the next picture.
So, like I said, I'm going to skip through some of these if they're showing kind of the same things.
Is that the wheelhouse for the motor that picks up the giant red motor that picks up the lifting arm? The drawworks, thank you.
Yeah, the drawworks, which is the huge winch that they have to lift the carriage of the Mechazilla arms, the chopsticks. And they put this cover over the side of the building, and I just love the way that they left it looking like this.
You can tell that was an A+ SpaceX weld job.
I'm so surprised that they left it looking like this, because usually they try and make things look good, things that are in the public eye. The launch mount, they painted the launch mount while it was on the SPMTs and rolling. Like, before it got on the highway, they were painting it while it was rolling. So they really do care about how things look. So I'm surprised that this hasn't been painted over yet. And I think we have a few questions. Let's see.
I think we covered that no team will be left out on the office space during a launch. They will have nearby folks at the build site that will be able to observe, most likely. And we do have a new member, Jeff Allen. And he says, it looks like they have some chain marks at the top. I guess he was referring to an earlier picture.
Yeah, I think so. I'm trying to think of what he was talking about. It'll come back in view. Wow.
Observationist said, is the gray paint on the launch table actually a high temperature resistant ceramic nanoparticle coating? Well, I mean, all paints are nanoparticle technically. Ceramic, I don't know. Golden Boy, what do you think? I feel confident that it would be a high temperature paint.
He sounds like he knows a lot more about it than I do. Ceramic nanoparticle coating. It's probably right. I like it.
Nothing quite like powder coating, like the good old car engine days.
Yeah.
Question: would the long cable on the winch be flexible? Well, yes, it would. It is a rather thick cable. I believe it's over 4 inches thick, each individual strand of cable. And it is flexible enough to move and go around the winch, but you'd have trouble bending it by hand. Oh, this is a great picture. You really get to see a lot of the detail of the COPVs. And there's the hatch. Is there anything in particular we should go over on the booster itself?
Well, actually, in this view, I was going to talk about this addition to the chopsticks. Yep, they actually have installed cameras for 3 different angles. I'm really hoping that we get to see these in action. These actually, I'm not sure if these are cameras or if they're sensors. They're probably both.
I would imagine so, maybe a light radar sensor. But what are the lower leg extensions going to be used for? Positioning the booster, I've heard.
These extensions, is that what you're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the top of the arms is basically where the main lifting is going to come from, and these arms will fold down once the booster is in position. So basically, this is like the perfect position. This is the center point for the chopsticks. So this is where the center of the launch mount is going to be.
Yep. And that will allow for fine positioning as they drop it back down into the cradle of the launch table.
This is the fine position.
Right.
This is
That's
dead center on the launch mount. So once the booster slides over to right here, then these will fold down and they'll attach down to the second mount point, and that'll stop it from swaying. So one of the things that you notice when they were lifting the booster on and off the launch mount is just like how long it takes, and that the reason for that is because they have to like actually get really close to it, and actually watch every single clamp and engine and make sure nothing is colliding, and make sure it's not moving before they lift it off, so that they don't damage anything. And that process takes it takes like 2 or 3 hours. But once they're able to like use the chopsticks, it should only take minutes. I mean, they're able to position it exactly where it needs to go. These arms right here will stop it from swaying back and forth, so they can probably do it in the wind. It'll be really fast.
With high precision comes high speed.
Agreed. This is the precision right here.
While we're there, I'd like to point out one of the main uses of the COPVs is to repressurize the center engines to relight them. The outer engines have the pressurization built into the table itself, and that's a lot of the pneumatic lines and the fuel lines you see going through the table. The outer 20 engines will all be lit on the ground, and then they'll turn off once it's about to disconnect from the Starship as it's almost to orbit. As it falls back down, the outer 20 engines will not relight, and only the center 9 or in the future 13 engines will relight, and maybe even a subset of those. So whenever they do re-entry corrections or buffering to prevent overheating, it'll just be those center engines, and those will be kick-started either by helium or other gases through the COPVs. Is that factually correct there?
Exactly. Yeah. One of the other things that's important to mention is that if the launch mount wasn't starting up the outer 20 engines, then they would need roughly 3 times more COPV booster than they currently have.
And that is a huge weight savings. Each of those COPVs and the associated control items that go along with them weigh into the several tons. It would cut down on everything. So that's why stage 0 is so important.
I think later today, Grandpa Joe will make us a good illustration of what the booster would look like if it had all the COPVs on it.
Say less.
can't wait until they get the covers on these as well. I think that's one of the other things that they'll do while it's on the ground, because you really don't want to. They probably could lift them into position while it's up here, but there's no reason to do that. It's better to do it on the ground when you don't have to worry about it colliding with anything else. So I think
yes, sir.
it's one of the things
I do believe. Yeah, I do believe they'll be able to get a lot of finish work done now that it's off the mount. We should see a lot of progress. Speaking of progress, you'll notice there that there's a lot of scaffolding. These pictures were taken, I believe, 2 days ago during the booster forelift. A lot of that scaffolding is now gone. They have made a tremendous amount of progress on the rails that the Mechazilla chopsticks will ride on.
Yeah, that's one of the things that they've been doing. So one of the first things that they had to do was install these little these rails right here, because these weren't pre-installed. So every single joint of the tower, all nine sections, needed this. So that's 9 times or 2 times. Yeah, I think it's 2754 of these that they needed to put on there. And after they did that, they also needed to put the side rails on. So these side rails are important for the other wheels on the carriage, or the skates. So they had to install all of these. They torqued them down by hand. I'm not sure if they've fully installed them. They look installed right now on the rest of the tower, but I'm not sure.
I'm sure once they do a test, they'll figure out where it's not firm down. While you're right there, those columns, are those still filled with concrete? Rohan Barris would like to know if the tower is filled to the top.
Yeah, they finished filling the tower, I believe, like 2 months ago. And the concrete is really good because you have so much weight hanging off the side of the building. I mean, these arms weigh, I want to say, about 400 tons total, 450-ish tons. So it's basically like another tower section hanging off the side of the tower. And so that's why you have concrete on the inside. And a good analogy that somebody made, I think it was Philakid, is that this is not a steel.
This is not a steel tower. This is a concrete tower with a steel encasement.
Yeah, exactly.
And that gives it both great compressive and tension strength.
Right.
Oh, and Mr. Question, will they build a trough to direct exhaust from under the table? And Elon, I'll answer that real quick for Kent C. Elon Musk has gone on record saying we are not going to do that, and it may be a bad idea, but we're going to try to get away without it. And also, I'll note that the water suppression system is fairly underpowered compared to the Artemis. So they are really putting a lot of faith in the concrete under that rocket. We'll see how that goes out. I know they have a lot of concrete contracts, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, and touching on the water deluge or lack thereof, I think a lot of people are kind of assuming that it's going to stay the way it is, and I personally think that there's a lot more that they're going to add to it. But I guess we'll wait to see if that happens or not. But there's no way it's going to stay the way it is currently. It's just not enough.
And I'll say that part of the agile manufacturing development ideology that SpaceX uses is that they will try things with the bare minimum, see if it works, and see how much they really need to adjust it. They don't over-engineer things. They under-engineer and then fix. Which, so far, man, you got to say, they have been doing a bang-up job. That's a great picture of the ends of the Mechazilla arms. And a crane.
Zooming in on here on the actual hydraulics. Just love the way they have all of this.
Yeah, they really took their time and their craft. You can tell a professional put that together.
So there is a question about the long cable in the winch. They're asking if that cable is flexible.
Did we touch on that one before? I think we
we answered that one earlier.
It's
about
flexible,
4 inches. It's about 4 inches thick, I believe. and it is not flexible by human hand, but it does flex enough to allow it to travel around that winch and to be rolled up in the spool.
Yeah, when the booster lands on it, it'll flex immediately. It won't really come down with much speed. I think the speed will be basically zero when it makes contact with the arms. But still, when the weight transfers onto it, it'll flex a little bit. But I don't think that will be as dramatic as we've seen it look in some videos so far.
Real quick, while we're on this picture, DD View asked a great question. Has any permanent cladding been added to the OLIT? That stands for Orbital Launch Integration Tower. And the answer is, some, I believe, but not much, and definitely not all of it.
Yeah, they got a lot of work to do on that. You can still see on these, on the edge of all of these beams, that they're the mounting
That's
location.
where they'll place it.
Yeah,
Yeah, they have a lot of protection left to add to this.
the problem is that they haven't actually done the testing on the systems within the tower, and so until they do that, they won't be able to cover all of this up.
And that cladding will go on mighty quick, and it's not needed until just the last moment right before they do a launch. So I'm going to assume that it'll go up quick in a hurry right at the last minute.
Right, and one of the things that's required in order to do the testing on the tower is a full stack. So basically what they did, like I said, on the launch mount recently, last week, is test the actual launch mount system. And they needed to test it so that they can commission it, and then basically be able to cover everything up, add all the final insulation, and basically like finish the actual launch mount. So in order to do the same thing with the tower, they have to stack Ship 20 on top of Booster 4 and connect the SQD arm, the ship quick disconnect arm, or the claw. They need to connect that and actually do a cryo test of the Starship, and the same way they just did with the booster. So until they do that, they won't be closing in the tower. So it's going to be a while. That'll be probably the first thing that happens after they finish testing the tower, is they'll immediately start covering everything, I think.
Before we get too far away from it, David asked a good question. The door into the booster, how does that work?
This is what the cladding looks like. It's basically a solid sheet, and they have more of this at the Sanchez gas site right now. They just haven't installed it yet. Like I said, they need to finish the testing of the actual tower. And the other thing is that they don't have too many permanent lights inside this building yet, so you don't want to cover it up yet, because there's not much light in the building. And I just noticed this water bottle sitting here.
I'd like to add that as part of the FAA environmental assessment, they'll be assessing the light pollution from the tower, and so they may be minimizing that going forward, especially after construction's done. Those permanent lights should help cut down on all the lighting and disruption to the sea turtles, wildlife, and the people as well.
Is this a recent picture, Mauricio?
That picture was taken a few months ago.
Okay, I was wondering if these are actually connected now. I thought they were, but...
All right, that was taken on, let me see, it was taken on November 1st, so about 2 months ago. We do have another question here from Anthony. When do you think we'll see chopsticks testing? Do you think they'll try to put the booster back on with the sticks?
The cladding is just about to come down to allow for chopstick testing. So I'm hopeful it could be as soon as next week, but definitely within the next month, I would venture a guess. As far as picking up Booster 4, I somewhat doubt that they'll use the chopsticks to lift Booster 4 in its current state, and I doubt they'll use it to lift Starship 20. Though they could be ambitious and give it a shot. Time will tell.
Yeah, we're basically waiting on all of this stuff to go away. This is interesting. I wonder what splashed all over this. Probably during the cryo test.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
There is a
and
question asking what are those white and silver boxes on 2/3 of the first section of the oil IT?
Ooh. I believe we're talking about... No. They're right below this. Might be tough for me to get to them. Let's see. Going kind of far back. Here we go.
there we go.
So these are most likely related to cooling of the drawworks. So I'm actually not 100% sure. I believe that they're related to cooling of the drawworks. So there's fans on top of it that pull air through both the motor and the brakes in order to keep them cool. And I think these are part of that system, but I'm not 100% sure. Where's Dave when you need him? Dave Avery's
So Dropbear is saying that those white boxes are batteries. That the speculation has it that these white boxes are for batteries or are batteries.
Batteries?
Correct.
Very interesting. Yeah, I have not heard that, but somebody knows more than I do on that one. If I can get us back to where we left off. Oof. Hope they fix this.
Indeed.
Yeah.
A lot of the scaffolding that you're looking at here has actually been removed a fair bit, so they made a lot of progress there.
One of the things that I think they need to do is remove these bolts. I wonder if that's one of the remaining items that they still have the scaffolding up for.
I think that those bolts are not going to interfere, and that the existing chopstick will be able to glide over with clearance over those bolts. That's not on the rail, so I don't think that it's needed.
Could be right. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I know.
Some
I think they started taking off the scaffolding. I think yesterday, right?
agreed, and the answer to that is not yet, and probably won't be. If anything, maybe it'd be filled with methane or water.
That's what I'm a really good question. Like the top of booster 3 is like a really big bird bath. Like I don't get where the water's going, and because I don't know if we've ever seen water dripping out at the bottom of it during a rainstorm, or if it's all just collected inside the liquid oxygen tank. I need answers.
It's part of Elon Musk's mosquito sanctuary.
Right. They're probably gonna have to drain it before they get it off of the testing.
It's free rainwater. They're very glad to have it.
They're drinking from it, actually.
And
I don't know
so
if it's
just a
legal
little
to collect
correction.
rainwater in Texas, though. Is it? So, continuing on, one of the things that they, so yesterday, or I think it was 2 days ago, they were doing a lot of testing at night with the tank farm. And I think there's a small chance that they were also testing the SQD and all of the cryo tubing up here. The problem is that it's really well insulated, so it's really hard to see if it was happening. And Jessica Kearse actually had a really good live stream of it as it was happening. And I feel like there was like just small wisps of smoke or condensation coming off of these. But it was so hard to tell, and it was like really dark and it was foggy. So it's kind of up in the air whether or not they've actually done any actual testing on this yet.
So, Golden Boy, could you go back to the white boxes? Those are about 30 pictures back.
Yes,
I'll just give you a quick rundown. Those white boxes are braking resistor banks. As the drawworks are spun up, the resistors, I believe, will collect the heat and then transmit it out, and that is what they are. That's what those white boxes are. John Tate, look that up for us. Thank you,
He's
John.
always quick with it. Here is our thank you, John Tate.
Yep.
We're
Shout out
not
to
going to
the
read through this whole
community.
explanation. We can actually post this in the if you guys are on the RGV Discord server, we will post this there. It's actually really convenient for putting resources in there. So if
you're not on the RGV Discord server, please join. And if somebody could post the link to that now, please do.
I am struggling with this full screening today, guys.
You're doing a great job, sir.
Here we go.
Question from a new member, and this is a really great one from Faya Vinpri. So, sorry if I'm messing the name up, but will the new towers that will be built at Cape need FAA approval to be built? So there are 2 towers that are going to be built at the Cape. One of them will be at pad 39. It'll be 39B, I believe. And that one is already on existing approved ground, and it is cleared for orbital launches. So no FAA approval is needed for that. There is a secondary location where they will build another entire facility, and that will be at pad 49A. And that one has never been approved for use, and it will have to go through the full FAA environmental review and process. So the good news is they already have approval on one. They'll be able to build it at the Cape, and they'll be able to launch from there without FAA interference or approval and regulatory needs. But they will need it for the second pad. And Boca Chica, same process. We're hoping for March, and the FAA environmental assessment includes a second tower and second tank farm. Golden Boy, do you know if the approval will cover both towers?
I do not.
I believe it does. As I've read the environmental assessment, I believe it covers 2 towers. Thank you, Lord of the Rings.
So continuing on, let's see. This is right before they took the booster off the launch mount. I'm just going to keep scrolling through these because I actually want to get to a different area. So we've kind of been hanging out here for a long time. Oof. I love this. Thank you for this, Theo. So, man, if it would just like rotated just 1 degree to the right, you would see that Elon always gets his way. And I wish my boss was this childish. Like, Brad, step your game up, please. Because doing stuff like this is just hilarious to me. Like 420, and then you have 69 back here. Like, that's not an accident. I don't care what he says.
Oh, no, sir. This is absolutely purposeful, childish, and beautiful.
Yes.
And that's why we love watching them. Peter asked a question. Is there any indication that the vertical alignment for the quick disconnect is adjustable? I have not seen any indication of that. It seems like it's on rails and it goes exactly where it needs to precisely. There may be a little bit of flexibility, but not too much.
Here's one of the other things that I was thinking about as they were lifting the booster off. So one of the things that takes a long time is after they depressurize the vehicle, they cover up all of the openings with foil except for these ones. And there's actually a really cool picture of this coming up. Oh my God, this is amazing. So you can actually see the valves for the tanks, the main
fill valves.
Yeah, and they just leave them open. Probably a pigeon in there now, I swear. That's where they're gonna have to depressurize the booster again, so that they can get in there and make sure that there's nothing inside of it now because they left these open. So
a couple of quail eggs never hurt any rockets.
Yeah, the cool thing about this is you can also see the labels on these.
Oh, wow. So now might be a good time to highlight, anybody who's a RGV Patreon gets early access to these high definition photos and gets to see this right after Mr. RGV uploads them and in full detail. So
This is
great information there.
One of the first things that they do when they put the booster on the ground is they put an adapter plate over this that covers up these main lines or these main valves, and it gives them an adapter for them to connect the pressurization lines that are on the launch or the transport mount itself. Oh, I don't know if we can get an angle of this. So one of the things that they did yesterday as well is they actually put, there's a cover on the lower part of this booster quick disconnect, and they installed that yesterday. I don't know if we're going to be able to see that from this angle.
So
Hey, Zach.
Stinger.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, it's we're talking about the QD. So the call-in had a question. Looking at the QD, is there enough room to swing out of the way during stacking operations and back into to stabilize and connect?
So he's talking about when they're stacking the booster on the launch mount. I don't think that they'll have to worry about that because it'll be in the perfect position when they swing it over. So it'll be out of the way, and it's sitting back a pretty good distance. Once this door folds up, and the actual QD sticks out, it comes forward like pretty considerable amount. So it'll be out of the way. I don't think they'll have to worry about anything, and it's protected. Ooh, there we go.
Oh, nice.
CPJ, you had a question.
Oh, I was going to read from Stinger. Is the build of the orbital launch mount and orbital launch integration tower, has it been documented in online construction platform like AutoCAD, so it can be shared for the construction of future launch towers? And I would venture a strong guess that yes, SpaceX knows how to use the internet, and they share internally their documents to reproduce their successes.
So one of the things that I've been working on that I haven't actually fully released yet is the basically diagram of the piping system on the inside of the launch mount, and this is one of the things that feeds into the Raptor QDs. So these are all related to the igniter system. So this is the igniter GOX, which is gaseous oxygen, igniter gaseous CH4, igniter GN2, and ISO is probably isolation valves. I don't know.
What's GN2, gaseous nitrogen?
Yeah, gaseous nitrogen, right. And the gaseous nitrogen is part of the engine purge, I believe. I'm not 100% sure. But these two are both spin-up gases, your gaseous oxygen and your gaseous methane. And on the other side of the launch mount is the control panel for the helium. And so this is where it enters. It actually enters into the table, and I keep calling it a table, the launch mount. And there's a whole bunch of pipes running around the roof of it, of the inside of the table, and
I will give you I'll give you a pass there, because there is signage saying table out at SpaceX.
Is there?
Yeah, there is.
Can't help it. I just keep saying it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably why, because it's the correct term to use.
Right. So the really cool thing about this, these are fed. The supply for these is on top of the bunker, which I can show you guys in a little bit. And they actually store these at extremely high pressure. So the nitrogen is stored at 200 bar. the methane is stored at 400 bar, and I don't know what the oxygen is stored at because they deleted the label off of it before Starship Gazer was actually able to get a picture of it. So
400 bar, would that be equivalent to the bottom of the ocean or higher pressure than that?
I don't know.
It's pretty serious. The booster itself is at 6 bar.
Right. And so, yeah, these are extremely high pressure gases that they're using to spin up the engine. It's also extremely dangerous because of how high pressure they are.
And just for anyone wondering, the spin up process is much like blowing on a fan. The gases blow over a turbine and spin it up to operating revolutions per minute, RPM. So it's very important, and they use a mixture of gaseous nitrogen, or during a pre-burner, they'll use methane and oxygen. However, they do also currently use helium because it has the highest expansion ratio of any liquid to gas, and it causes the most efficient and high speed startup possible of any gas. So they actually spend more on the helium to spin up the starting of the rocket than they do on some of their other gases in terms of cost and per weight.
One of the really important things about this being here is that it allows them to test the Raptors without having closures. They don't have to schedule closures because they are able to. They don't have to fill the booster up with methane and oxygen in order to test the spin up of the outer 20 engines. They actually were testing this recently, and now that I think about it, they must have methane somewhere if they did that.
I'm sure in limited quantities, certainly.
Yeah, it's on the roof of that building somehow. But one of the very first things that they're going to do during the launch procedure is fill up those tanks on the roof that I was talking about, because those tanks are used to fill up the COPVs and it's used to start up the engines. So they'll turn some of the liquid methane and the liquid oxygen and the liquid nitrogen into gas and fill those tanks up very first thing. And then they'll probably purge the booster after that with that gaseous oxygen and methane, because usually it's going to be filled with nitrogen. So they'll purge the entire tank of the booster with those, with what's supposed to be in them, essentially. And that also is done through these. That's not true, actually. Sorry, that's done through the main fill lines. Sorry, pre-pressurization lines. Continuing
So
on.
I'll mention we just had another $10 donation from our wonderful Indian Star. And I'll mention that anyone who would like to donate, all proceeds go to RGV Aerial, and they help buy airtime, lenses, and other materials so that we can keep Mauricio flying and keep those pictures coming in. So thank you, Indian Star.
One really cool thing about this right here is a lot of people have been asking about how the clamps work. And so these are the clamps down here, and you'll notice that they're actually extended out. So they have hydraulics mounted onto the top of the clamps, which will slide this arm out, and that makes it so that when they lower the booster down, they're not risking like hitting the engines on the actual mount itself. So it gives it the ability to like swing around a little bit. So they'll lower it down into here, and then these will they'll automatically push these back in using the hydraulics, and that'll sit on the rail right here.
I saw a video of them actuating those hydraulics, and they act independently. It was pretty interesting. And man, this whole thing is just, I'll say, it's so darn cool.
Good picture of it too coming up. Hold on one second.
Question from Disturbed. Why wouldn't SpaceX hire a petroleum engineer who could have told them about the the Texas Commission handbook that requires the storage of petroleum products. Well, it sounds like they did after they learned some mistakes, and they have repaired those and are working to continue to provide other solutions.
Yeah.
So
also,
yep,
I had a better
you live,
job.
you learn.
So there's that as well.
Question: who's the scaffolding company? Brownsville has a multitude of construction suppliers, and I'm sure they're using multiple. They certainly use a lot of scaffolding, but it is also freely available. They may have also purchased some of their own.
This is so amazing,
isn't it? Oh my God! Look, those tiles are just amazing.
Space porn.
Oh, God, totally. And I'll take a step back to say a personal friend of all of ours, Mr. Austin Bernard, is now has been hired to place those tiles on, and we were all so proud of him. Mauricio, is this going to be a composite image you put together? Certainly looks like it'd be a great one.
Did we lose Mauricio?
He's been having a bit of network issues in and out.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I'm right here. I'm already back. Sorry, I was on mute.
We got you.
But yeah, so yes, it's supposed to be a panorama that I'll be stitching. Probably end up posting that later on today or tomorrow on Twitter.
Excellent. Let me know when you're done. I'll be sure to Photoshop it into something funny.
Right. We were talking about scaffolding earlier, and I got something that I have to tell you guys something that I haven't told anybody. But I took up a job one time back when the Mark I nose cone was out there at the launch site, at the build site. I don't know if you guys remember, it was out there for a while. Well, they invited me out to work one day inside, putting scaffolding inside of the Mark I nose cone. So that was pretty interesting. It was just for one day, but it's pretty.
Wait, are you serious? You've been in the Mark I nose cone installing scaffolding?
Yes. So my.
Oh my God, that's huge. I had no idea. That's amazing.
How do you keep stuff like that secret?
I
have a big mouth. I would not be able to handle it.
Right. It was for one day. It was my cousin's husband. He was a company that was working on the scaffolding for that particular, for inside the Mark I nose cone, and I actually got to be in there. I was helping out and everything, but it was just for one day.
Did you get any pictures?
Really, I can't say.
Well,
you're not supposed to. You're not. They tell you.
But you already here. You are. You're telling us now.
No, I can tell you, but I can't show you.
Right? Everybody's gonna be so upset.
Well, right. I'm glad that you followed all SpaceX rules and did not take any pictures.
No, I didn't.
All right.
Take me on tours because I can't handle the rules. I just it would be so hard not to take pictures. I don't know. I just have to leave my phone at home.
Adam Kelly asked a great question. I wonder if they've considered having the catch and launch systems on opposite sides. That way they could catch and have a ship prepped on the launch pad simultaneously. And the answer to that is they have done that. Those catch arms are able to swing 90 degrees, and they catch the ship off center, and they're able to immediately place it right back on the booster.
Yeah. And I think we might get a good view of where the map points on the ship are.
Oh, yeah. Zoom in. It's a little under the flaps there.
Yeah, we're not going to be able to see it from this angle. But
no.
One thing I was going to mention was these two tiles that fell off during the last static fire, I believe. Or were these missing before that? These are recent, right?
I believe they did fall off, right? Is there a picture from Starship Gazer? I know he went out there before the static fire.
Wait, is this picture from before the static fire?
This is after.
One second, guys.
RGB, here's a question for you from Jack. How will the booster propellant tanks be adequately pressurized to support the weight of the stacked Starship just before fueling at launch?
Is that for me or for you?
They were asking you.
I think that was towards Zach.
So they do have pressurization compressors on site that keep it at 6 bar pressure, much like a Coke can. As long as it's pressurized, it's structurally sound. Now, as they fill it up with fluids, it's easier to keep both hydrostatic and pneumatic pressure inside the vessel.
You guys, we have 420 viewers right now. How do I always know this may happen?
Elon Musk would be proud of everybody.
Yep. So one of the other things I wanted to mention that they did up here is that they actually on this side, I think they removed it. They added a panel on top of this that slides into the hard point of the where they use to lift, attach the lifting mechanism. And so you can see it right here as well too. This whole thing pops off and gives them access to this so that they can reinstall the lifting points. And yeah, I think that we'll see them take these back off so that they can take Ship 20 off of the test stand soon. I really hope. Actually, I think they had another static fire planned. They aborted one.
Yeah, it seemed like they were. They've been trying to do a Starship static fire followed by a header tank static fire to simulate a mission, and they haven't gotten it 100% yet. Now, in testing, they're much more cautious. However, in flight, whenever it comes time, they're just going for it, no caution, because if they don't light, it just hits the ground.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see.
Did you want to come back to the question about the booster propellant? Now that
I think we covered it.
Okay.
And one of our community members, Vix, pointed out those 2 tiles were missing already. They did not fall off from the static fire. And I believe I saw Philakid mention the same thing. But it sounded better when it came from Vix, so I'll trust her.
Yeah. Vix always has the answers.
Vix makes everything better.
That's right. Also, why do the workers not wear a high-vis vest? Well, they do what they do. That's on them. Many of them do wear high-vis vests. Also, carbon fiber helmets, because nobody wants to lug around a heavy helmet all day.
All right, so we're getting into the tank farm now.
This is the great engineering stuff you really want to see.
Yeah, I love this. I don't know about all the Starship stuff. I can talk about this stuff all day.
Tell me, I have no idea. What is the orange and red right there?
These are the main valves that control whether or not nitrogen or methane is flowing through these pumps. So they can basically, this is what allows them to use nitrogen for cryo testing instead of methane. And they do the same thing on the other side. It allows them to use nitrogen or liquid oxygen for testing of the LOX tank. And in this case, they ended up using LOX instead of nitrogen when they did their most recent cryo test.
I think it's important to note that just below the orange motor there's a valve made up. You can see the casing of the valve in the metal there. So one of the number one problems with rockets and cryogenic fluids is that metal tends to shrink or compress as it's frozen to cryogenic temperatures. So while you might have a good seal at room temperature, you don't at cryogenic temperatures. So the tolerances tend to be very tight. And that right there is why you need such a massive motor. This is just like a garden hose at your home where you're spinning a valve to allow fluid to flow through. The only difference is this is at such high pressure and such tight tolerances, it's such a tight fit that you need a massive motor to allow that fluid to flow reliably. And they've had many problems with such valves over the years, and this may be a little bit overkill, but it's just enough to make sure it works every time.
At least on the methane side, they've had to replace the ones on the liquid oxygen side.
Oh my God, I know.
They have so
Every
many
time
problems.
they turn around, they have to replace that LOX one. I will say, liquid oxygen is highly corrosive because it likes to oxidize everything.
Very true.
Oh, look at that quick disconnect right there.
This
That
is
whole housing.
the plate that I was talking about that got installed yesterday. Actually sits right here. This is before they put it on there. But that is now fully covered. I believe soon they will start covering up all of this. Well, you can tell that they've already started wrapping the some of the flex hose. I think that is the methane line that they've covered already. So they'll probably end up covering pretty much all of these. And then after that, they may even put a large case over this, I think. It only makes sense. One of the interesting things also that I've noticed is this random hose that they have coming up here, which I've been waiting to see what it looks like from above, trying to figure out what it runs to. I can't tell if it's a vacuum, but yeah, they have it's just a random temporary hose that I've been noticing sitting here for a while. But I mean, look at this. Look how many flex hoses they have back here.
They need every one of them. Look how massive those flex hoses are. By the way, our community member,
here's
Dave
the catalog
Avery,
image of flex hoses right here.
I know, it's
We
great.
have every size available.
From Flex Hose R Us. Dave Avery pointed out that the valve that we were looking at is a quarter turn butterfly valve. So that's what that was under the orange motor there, and that allows full flow with just a quarter turn.
It's gonna be sad when they cover all this up. It looks so good.
I know, that is just so darn good looking. One of the many wonderful things with these high res pictures and being out there and watching all this, so much great engineering goes into every piece of this, and that whole assembly. The reason they have all those flex hoses is because that whole assembly swings out of the way during a launch, and it's fully covered by that shield that was put in place yesterday. All right, you want to get to the next picture, and we can catch more. All right.
Well, I had a question about the QD hoses. Are they going to cover those up for launch or no?
I think so.
We think so, yeah.
I think they're going to cover everything. Like this stuff right here, you can't just leave this exposed. Like, look at all these hoses. I mean, I do think for the most part that the flame of the booster is going to go like directly down, straight down. But again, like the flame is going to be 900 feet long, which is 2 times the height of the launch tower. So there's so much opportunity for that flame to just glance over the side of the table and damage these. So I think I really do think that they're going to put a cover over the entire outside of the table. I don't think that leaving these things open like this is even an option. I really don't. If they leave it open like that, I'll be very surprised. And like I said, they're going to have to hire people to go in there and clean out the bird nests all the time. So I'll repeat again, Elon, if you want to leave it open, then you can hire me. I'll do it for free. I'll go clean it out. Whenever you want, I'll be there. We talked about these before. So on the other side, you have your gaseous helium purge. So this is part of the filling the COPVs. Some of these lines run up to the QD. Those ones are used to fill the COPVs, and then the ones that run inside the table, I said it again, are used for the spin up of the engines. And you can see there's COPV load right here. So all the different gases that go into the COPVs are controlled through this valve, these valves right here. And I think that I can't remember what that one is. I can't see it. Ooh. Look at this. Do you think they fixed this yet? So this is a kind of questionable what this is. I'm pretty positive it's part of the water deluge system. And you can see that they have the one part of the water deluge system right here. And so basically this comes down in between each leg and it sprays inward. And this should create a cone of water in the middle. It'll actually probably be like a ball of water, just a globe shape. And they're going to need more than just that though. Like that part can't be active while you're starting up the engines because it'll actually contact the engines. So this is something that is going to turn on after the booster already leaves the pad. And I think that this one right here is going to be the first one that activates. And I also think that they have a lot of work to do on this. I don't think they've installed any of the nozzles onto it yet. And one other thing to note is that these water lines are missing from the next leg over. They don't have any going underneath there. So it actually goes inside the launch table instead of underneath, which is weird.
Do you think we'll see the water deluge testing anytime in the next month?
I sure hope so. It'd be really awesome.
Very good.
Keep an eye on Lab Padre rover cam for that.
Mm-hmm. Here's a great question. Couldn't SpaceX make a custom load spreader gadget to lift Ship 20 off of its stand using the hard lift points under its forefins? And I will answer that and say yes. I firmly believe somewhere out on site that there is a custom load spreader, and it could just be 2 hard points that go in and pick it up. And I firmly believe that's out there somewhere.
Yeah.
I'll encourage everybody to check out the next aerial flyover and see if you can spot it, and alert CSI Starbase and Grandpa Joe, and we'll take a look and confirm it. Up next, how will they catch this ship? And the answer is they won't. This one is going out into the ocean, and best case scenario, it will land gently. Elon Musk says a very high probability it won't make it that far, and it'll burn up and land in the ocean not too gently.
This is really crazy what we're looking at right here. So the amount of flex hoses inside this table is just insane. So each of the outer 20 Raptor engines has 6 hoses connected to it. So we're only able to see about 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I can see the other 2 back here.
I'll point out construction on the launch table started in March, and they have had crews of 10, 20 guys working on this thing around the clock for almost a year, and it's still not done. It's really amazing just how utterly complicated this thing is.
I would say the construction of the launch table probably started actually 4 months before we think it did.
Oh, absolutely. It came in sections, partly constructed already. It's truly one of the most complicated pieces out there.
Yeah, matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised if the guys that were working on the launch mount the whole time while it was at the production yard are probably the same guys who welded it together at its fabrication site, if I had to guess.
Yeah. By the way, have you seen the model from Dean Wiggins Creative, of the launch table opening and closing? It was on Twitter. He got it working, and it is incredibly complicated, and it really shows just how versatile and how many moving parts this thing has.
So with 6 hoses connected to each engine, that's 6 times 20. That's a ton of hoses inside this table, and on the back side of it as well too. So continuing on. Ooh, sun came out.
Someone asked, Faya asked, does the tower have any kind of internal or external fire suppression? And the answer is, I don't know, but I don't believe so.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
It should. Really should.
At least in some sensitive areas. We'll see.
This is the one thing about the launch tower that I don't like is the fact that they have cables coming up the outside of it. It just disappoints me because I feel like there's so much space on the inside of the inside of the tower that that's just I can't believe they have to do that.
Here's a great question from Quite Gone Jim. Hey, this is my first live stream from RGV. That wasn't a flight. Do you do ones like this often, as I've missed them all, if that's the case? And do you always do it on Saturday? Jim, this is the second time we've ever done this, and we are hoping to stick to a weekly cadence. We did the first one on a Thursday, and this one's on a Saturday. That allows us to do it early enough in the day to help get the European market before they all go to bed. But yeah, we do hope to keep it Saturday at 2 p.m. We'll see if we can keep to that schedule. And sometimes it'll be cloudy and rainy all week, and we won't have a flyover review. But there's always plenty of pictures, and me and Golden Boy are always happy to talk your ear off.
Yeah, definitely,
Right.
definitely.
Now that we're talking about this, just a special announcement. Our next flyover is scheduled for Tuesday at around 10 a.m. So just keep an eye out for that. All Patreons get access to the photos the day of the flyover. And we'll probably end up doing the flyover review on Thursday the 6th, if it works out for you guys. All weather
all
dependent.
right.
Yeah, we could do it on Thursday. I mean, I think if we keep like a consistent time too, that'll be nice. On the weekend we'll see what everybody likes.
And Mauricio, you said your flyover is going to be on Tuesday?
Yes, on Tuesday around 10 a.m. Weather dependent.
So, Golden Boy, what are we looking at here? What are all those cables running to? And what's
So
that
these
black
are
assembly?
basically all of the communications for inside of the controls and communications for inside of the launch tower, integration tower. Sorry. So there's tons of cameras up there. There's tons of actuators and all that stuff. So all of those lines are entering the tower right here. And we also can see the dead end of the cable for the chopsticks for the carriage. So this is basically clamped in here, I believe, to stop it from moving. And then it just hangs down over into the where the cable reel is. You can see
On the very other end of that cable, they have a dead end spool that will, as the cable is used and abused, they'll spin it up on that spool. And then once that's full, they'll just spin a whole new cable out there. Going back to water deluge, Disturbed says, per the environmental agreement assessment, SpaceX must gather all water that is not evaporated. They can't let any of it run into the protected lands. So where is this collection system? More berms? And I can answer that there is no current water collection system, and they may be using so little water, it'll all evaporate under the heat of the rocket so quickly that there will be nothing to collect. So time will tell, and they may end up using more water, and then they will require a collection system, but that is not currently in the works.
Looks like we had a $10 donation from El Hungaro. Thank you so much. We definitely appreciate that. I've actually been talking to El Hungaro online for a very long time. I feel like it's been like over a year now. So good to see a lot of familiar names in here for sure.
So there is a question from Baruda asking, when do you think they will finish the construction work at Starbase?
Never. Much like Cape Canaveral, Space Force Base, is still under active construction to this day since 1963 to today. Starbase will be under some level of construction. They have a whole nother tower. They have another orbital tank farm to build. And they will probably expand to include more facilities for production as time goes on, as well as expanding the Sanchez oil and gas and air purification refinery. So there's plenty of exciting construction to come probably for the next decade.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that at some point I might get a house down there so I can, make some regular trips and, kind of cover this stuff in person as well too.
I'll watch it for you when you're out.
Yeah, and probably go on a few flyovers with Mauricio. I feel like he owes me one because, actually funny story. So the first time I ever talked to Mauricio was I had just gotten back from my trip to Starbase in May, and I posted a picture of the flooding that I saw down there and the pump that they were using to get rid of all of the flood water. And my comment on the post was something like, "Oh, I don't think this is going to be enough to get the job done." And then the only person who responded to it was Mauricio, and he responded to it and he's like, "Hey, why didn't you let me know you were in town?" And I was like, "What? Me?
I didn't know you knew I was alive."
Exactly. And so that's how we actually started talking, was because he reached out to me, which was pretty awesome. So yeah, but he still has
the invitation for fly along is still open.
I'm gonna have to get down there.
I know Felix, one of our mods, he ended up going on one of our flyovers a few months back.
Really?
Oh wow.
Sorry if you guys can hear the sirens in the background. You're basically in Chicago with me. This is what I fall asleep to every night, is just sirens.
At least it's not fireworks tonight.
Mauricio, is the flyover open to everybody?
It depends. I mean, for Patreon members, I've invited a couple of them. If you become a Patreon for quite a while, like Zach has, depending what tier, I'll take you guys along. I know Felix. I know What About It was down here. What About It? Felix from What About It as well was down here, but it all depends on the weather, and it ended up not happening. So it just depends on the weather. It depends if our schedules line up. We can make it happen.
It's kind of like trying to witness a launch down there. You know what I mean? Like it's just, you can go down there and you're like, oh, yep, we're gonna do this, but then the weather will complicate things, or you gotta actually plan like 2 to 3 weeks to be down there if you want to guarantee to do something.
If you're gonna go, plan at least 3 weeks, and maybe come a week later than you expect. So somebody asked, are we expecting the orbital test flight to take place sometime next month? And the answer is no. We cannot launch earlier than March 1st due to the FAA. Go ahead, India.
Question straight for Mauricio. Mauricio, the Bishop asks, do you know the 152 rental rate for your planes?
It depends. We don't use the 150 anymore. We actually use the 172, and I guess the rental rates, they're pretty hefty, because we're up there for, I want to say, for close to 2 hours, sometimes a little bit more. The only reason it takes that long is because we have to climb up to 10,000 feet.
Yeah, and you actually have you had to upgrade the plane, right? In order to, you had to start using that one because of the TFR change, right?
Right. So the 150, the operating altitude is not that good. The horsepower on that 150 can't reach up to the 10,000. It did one time, but once we opened up the windows, there was I guess a change in pressure and a lot of drag on the airplane, so it started to lose altitude. So we had to abort. So the 172 can easily get up to about, I want to say, we haven't really tried it. It depends on a lot of factors, the weather. But we've gotten it up to 11,000 feet, so we should be good.
I want somebody to post a picture of the maneuvers that you have to do to get up to altitude when you're just flying in circles for half an hour.
I'd
I
like
think
to
we
ask
just
a very serious, silly question, Mauricio. Have you ever considered using a kite?
Yes. The only thing is that I looked at the regulations, and apparently the kites were also regulated partly under the FAA. So you wouldn't be able to
Wait,
fly a kite there at the launch site or close to the launch site.
I believe the public beach, you could at least fly a kite from there.
Right. People do it all the time. I think it'll become a problem if once I attach a camera to it. And technically, I don't want. There's really not. I'd rather be safe than sorry. I don't want to be,
Yeah, you don't want to
questioned
be
by
their
the FAA.
enemy.
No, sir.
Right. I don't.
I hear
I
you
don't want
loud
to
and
be
clear.
put in that.
I'll take one for the team.
yeah, no jeopardizing Mauricio, please. Mauricio, there's another question. Has Alon ever been on your plane?
No, but I've actually met Elon. When was it? About a month and a half ago. I met him out at the build site. I was out there with a gentleman. I can't really remember his name, but he built a real life Iron Man suit, and I was just chatting with him outside by the public road. And Elon actually pulled up. He wanted to see the Iron Man suit, and I met him. He was there for about 15-20 minutes, just chatting away.
Really?
That was pretty cool.
Wow.
Did you ask him why he keeps raising the TFR?
No, I don't think he's really that. He was mainly asking questions about the Iron Man suit, so he looked like he was in a rush. Yeah, he took the time out of his schedule to go and talk to us, and took a picture with him, and that's it.
You're a better guy than me. I would have had to ask him. So how much you gonna raise it next time? Thinking 12.5.
Well, the history of the TFR is that they used to be at, or little history lesson here. It used to be about 1,500 feet. Actually, there was no TFR when I first went out there at all. When I would fly on an airplane, so we could be at about 1,200 feet, 1,500 feet if we wanted to, and then they put up the first TFR at 1,500 feet, and I think they changed it up to 1,800 feet, and then honestly not don't remember if it went up to about 3,000. I don't know if people remember, but then I know it did go up to 5,000, then to 7,000, and then right now it's at 10,000.
Hmm.
So I hope it doesn't go up higher,
Is that
because that's definitely going to cause some issues.
right? Um,
Do
so
we
one
know
of
if they
the
fixed the most recent TFR? The one that said 10,000? The one that
Well, the
just
thing
came out on
about
the
that, right? So that one said from the ground to 0 feet AGLs, which means it doesn't make any sense, right? But in the comment section or in the description, it still shows from the surface to 10,000 feet. So I think it's just some type of error on their end.
yeah.
But yes, so in essence, the TFR is still at 10,000 feet.
So no change for you. We're still going flying.
Yes, we're still good to go.
Great news. Yeah, one of the things I wanted to point out about this picture actually is that they've started installing this fence outside the entrance. It'll be interesting to see whether or not they put containers on here, shipping containers. Um, it looks like they will, but I don't think they need it necessarily. Actually, no, I would put it there because it's, in my opinion, they're part of like a storm surge protection on the entire launch site. So I really like seeing the storage containers everywhere because it gives them about 15-foot storm surge protection. Obviously, they don't have anything; it'll just go straight through the entrance. But they obviously need more of it. But I kind of consider it that way when I see those walls. Is like all of that stuff protects them in the event of a hurricane down here. Um, and even if this facility were to still get flooded, at least the storm surge wouldn't come directly and hit any of these things directly. Like if you have boats or something in the water, you don't want them to hit this. So by forcing water to come through the entrance instead of running through your tank farm or through the suborbital tank farm, I think that those container walls do a really good job of protecting the facility. Uh, it is annoying for everybody else just because you got a huge wall out there and you can't see as much. But I think it's really good. I think it'll be interesting to see if they actually put a sliding gate here too to make it so that they can close off the entrance when they need to, and potentially down at the other side as well, where the tankers offload. I think a sliding entrance would be pretty necessary over there, and be surprised if it's not actually like mandated. To fully enclose that facility, but we will see on that one.
So, Drop Bear asked a question: is United Rentals a SpaceX-owned company? Their gear is everywhere. So rental costs would be astronomical if it's a regular commercial agreement. And no, sir. United Rentals is a nationwide franchise where they rent out equipment to construction companies, and it ends up being far cheaper to rent through them than to own the equipment. In addition to the rental, you get maintenance, and you don't have to hire staff to maintain the equipment. So it ends up being more cost effective just to get it through a third party.
Philakid, I see him in the comments. He said the containers are boats; they float. I suppose they probably are, but I hope they're attached to the ground somehow. They got a lot of stuff in them. I don't know. They probably will float. He's right. I hope they welded them to the ground. Sorry to interrupt you there. Is this ship 24?
Let's see. There was no. It's not 21, and it's not 20, and it's not.
It's 24.
It's not 22. 23 is being skipped as far as we've seen. I think it's 24.
22 Pathfinder nose cone barrel. Thank you, Jax.
Is that outside the iron hinge?
Oh, hey, we got a donation from John Boy. Thank you. Appreciate you. And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year's, John. Hey, Mauricio, here's a question only you can answer. Does it get cold up at 10,000 feet?
Yes,
With the windows open.
Right, it does get really cold. So it depends. There's like I have to look it up, but I don't know how many degrees it is per 1,000 feet. I don't know if anybody from the comment section can look that up or not, but let's assume it's about 80 degrees at the ground level, so it gets down to about 50 degrees, 40 degrees at that altitude. Now, it might not be too cold for some people, but when you got the wind blowing in your face at 70 knots, it's pretty. It's you get numb. My hands get numb, so I have to wear gloves. I have to wear a sweater and a face mask when I'm up there. Not a face mask, but a face covering.
Mm-hmm. Wow, what do you got there? Is that the bottom of the downcomer, the pipe splitter?
Yeah, booster.
Yeah.
That's been out there for a while, right?
Yeah, I'm really hoping that they're preparing it for auction or something, because I'll submit a bid on this one as well.
200 pesos to start.
One flaps, but I'll take this. Honestly, it'll fit in my house a lot easier.
So this is the 29 engine manifold. So this one will probably never be used, as they're going straight to the 33 engine manifold, and that one's already in the bottom of booster 7 in the high bay, right?
Yep. This thing is amazing,
isn't it?
I think they should, like, if they have like a museum or something one day, they'll probably like put it in there. Just like things that you can see up close. Lawn ornaments.
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
Speaking of, Elon Musk has said that if you'd like to take receipt of these starships pictured, he'll be glad. You just have to pay for delivery. So I'm waiting for some city to take Elon up on the. So we have Starship 15, which successfully flew and landed, and we have Starship 16, which is almost identical to Starship 15, that was abandoned in favor of plowing ahead with Starbase construction. So booster 16, I believe that's the one on the right, has never flown. It was fully assembled and then immediately put out to pasture. Behind that, you'll have booster 5 that was constructed with the 29 engine configuration. It also had extra reinforcements, and it had a extra tank for methane pressurization inside of the oxygen tank. And that one, it's unsure of its fate. It could be scrapped. It could be left to be used with Starship 21 or 22. Its fate remains uncertain. But considering the long delay, and this is speculation, they may skip right to Booster 7 and Ship 24 as the next launch-ready pair.
So I just noticed in the comments, Mauser, who is our resident specialist at,
Sentinel watching.
Cam, he basically watches only Sentinel Cam. I don't think he even knows how to access Rover Cam. But he pointed out that this nose cone stack has hinges on the right side of it. Right here. So they this actually is a cargo door, a cargo variant Pathfinder.
Is that a hinge?
Allegedly.
Allegedly, it doesn't.
And
Maybe.
you said that's a cargo variant?
Yes.
If it does have hinges, then that would be a cargo variant.
There's some over. I know that's just
Mr. History just donated $10. Thank you.
Thank
we
you.
appreciate all that.
And
Thank
don't
you for
forget
supporting
Bishop, who's now an elite member, by the way.
Oh, thank you, Bishop, for joining. What do you get with elite membership?
Lots more of you guys.
There you go.
Let's see. This is SN2, right? Is that SN2?
They took off the tent.
The pants?
No, they took off a tent that was right next to it.
Oh. I was like, yeah, this looked like it used to have pants on. The tent that was over here?
Yeah.
I wonder what they're doing with this thing. I think it's a water tank now.
Eric the Long is asking, is this new?
This?
Because there once was a section with a door type hole.
If he's talking about this picture, this is not new. This is SN 2, I think. Could
if
be
it's
wrong.
not 2, it'd be 7, right?
I don't know. I think it might be SN2.
I think it is SN2.
Yeah, I'm not sure though.
Yeah. Well, it's not in use as part of Starship, so.
Yeah. Oh my God. Wait. They already have COPV covers on this thing, or the?
No, that's not the COPV cover. That's the recondenser cover.
And Chintz, you might want to see what Mauser just said in the chat about that. What we were just looking at. He's saying yes, it's a new fairing prototype out there.
Oh, about the nose cone Pathfinder. Yeah, that's the new fairing.
We're probably going to have Mauser
allegedly
commentator one day because he pays the most attention to like actual Starship stuff. So
and Dave agrees it's SN2 for sure.
Good old Dave.
Sorry, GB.
So we have the testing cage for the bird cage for what was that nose cone for SN12 got tested in this. They were testing for maximum dynamic pressure and seeing that it would stand up to the forces. I actually happened to be on site with maybe 2 other people, and I think we were the only people there that got to see that live. They were flexing, and you could hear the metal just groaning and creaking as they pulled on it.
Yeah.
Was that after they asked you to move Our
No, that
friend?
was Thomas they asked to move. I was not silly enough to get in the way of the testing.
No, you were asked to ask Thomas to move, weren't you?
Yes, that is correct.
Hey, can you move your friend?
They asked, "Hey, do you know that guy?" I'm like, yeah. Can you ask him to move? He's about to die. Okay.
I see Rohan Barros said confirmed that it's the SN2 water tank was what we were looking at.
And so did Dave, and so did Bahiru.
Oh, cool. I didn't see Dave's. So these things I'm expecting these to move soon, honestly. They've been building up their stockpile of items that are required for this facility that they're going to build, which is basically the methane purification plant. So they'll basically be bringing in natural gas and purifying it so that they have, methane, just like only methane. And so they'll truck in all that liquid natural gas, and this is part of that system that will be used to purify it. They actually have 3 of these, and you can see that they have all the connections on the side for the hoses. I actually did not notice this until recently that these were visible.
While we're looking at this, I
Ew.
have a question I'd like to ask you to speculate on just a little bit. We were figuring that it would take 400 to 600 truckloads of propellant, oxidizer, coolant, etc., to fill up for just one booster launch. Do you think they'll ever get a pipeline either from the Sanchez air gas liquefaction plant / natural gas directly to the site to avoid having to have all these tanker trucks?
I really hope so. But the thing is, if you make a pipeline from Sanchez to the launch site, you're going to be sending over gas instead of liquid. Like you're not gonna put a cryo pipeline underground. So the best way to do it would be to send everything over as a gas and then liquefy it at the launch site. That would be probably the most efficient way of doing it. But that would also require them to have a huge compressor station at the launch site, which they don't have. So again,
the other thought would be to reproduce the Sanchez site over at the launch facility and just make it right on site there.
Yeah, I have a feeling. My speculation is that these things will move within the next few weeks potentially. I think that they're showing signs of getting ready to start this facility. And I always say that like every quarter SpaceX starts a new project. And I think their first quarter project for 2022 is this facility. And I think they've been bringing in more equipment that they need for it. And they've started running all their power lines and all of their comms and controls lines for the facility already. I think we'll see it start coming out of the ground in a few weeks, if not on Monday, honestly. Gonna be a busy year.
Absolutely. And very interesting how they always do it by a quarter. Thank you, Yazada, for our $5 donation. Love your Starbase reviews. Yeah, we love giving them. Thank y'all for listening. All right. Wide bay production. Yep.
Yeah.
We're almost ready for level 3 to start going up.
Yeah, they're actually, it's kind of hard to see behind this, but they're actually hooked up to the this section behind it. You can see it through the gap. They're currently connected to that with the load spreader. And I think they just had a windy day yesterday and they weren't able to do it. I think probably on Monday we'll see them lift that section. And then they'll probably do all of them before the week's over, honestly. As long as the wind cooperates, they should do all of them within the same week.
So beyond the wide bay, Jeff Allen asked, what do we expect in the next week?
Definitely this.
That's a big question with a big facility. I'll expect some chopsticks testing. I'll expect some booster cladding to go on.
Well, within the next week.
Yeah, I think both of those could happen in the next week.
Man, you're awfully optimistic. I would love to see that.
Always, sir. I don't think they'll be finished with it, but I think they'll make good progress on the booster. And Starship, they do have some closures scheduled, so we might even see a static fire during that time.
Yeah. You can see all these pipes down here. These are for that facility that I'm talking about. And these are actually water pipes back here. So hopefully those move back to the launch site soon, because those are for water deluge. And I'm a firm believer that every pipe that they have, they plan to use. Every single one of them. So
question for RGV. What is your favorite camera of choice? And I'll add on there, what kind of lens do you use?
Yeah, so I have my camera choice is Sony A7 III. It's a, if I'm not mistaken, 24 megapixel. And my lens for these 10,000 feet TFRs are, I'm using a 200 by 600 millimeter, I believe, and a 70 to 300 millimeter for the wider shots. But I'm looking into getting another camera, hopefully sometime this year, the Alpha 1, the Sony Alpha 1. That one should be about 50 megapixels. And the reason I want to get that is because on some of these shots, you can zoom in. That's basically the whole point of getting something with so many megapixels. You can crop it all you want and you won't lose so much detail in the shot, you know? So yes, that's my camera of choice.
Very nice.
All right, Golden Boy, we're near wrapping up time. Do you want to speed run through a few, or?
Yeah, I think what I was going to point out right here is they have this stairway installed on the inside of the wide bay already. I think it's at the back corner. It's crazy looking at this stairway though, because it just like really puts into perspective how massive this building is.
It's wide, it's tall, it's big.
Let's see. So we got a booster aft section right here, I believe. Maybe.
What do y'all suppose is going to happen with this? Because it's been out there for a while. Every single time I go out there, it's there, and they're never working on it.
This was
say scrap.
5 or 6. I think
6. Yeah, they're skipping this one. All right, next slide.
Oh, we got a donation from Snate 2.0. Thank you. Appreciate you a lot. One of the things that I'm really hoping to see is them take Ship 20 off of the suborbital stand soon. Either that or Booster 3. I really hope they get Booster 3 off of that test stand soon, because I think that this is the upgrade for that test stand. This is a quick disconnect for a Starship, and I want to say that it is a quick disconnect, because the one that's currently on test stand B is more like a slow disconnect, because it has to be manually disconnected, so you can't really launch using it. This is something that they can use for launching, because it'll actually disconnect from the vehicle. So I'm really hoping that they get that on there soon. And then, I don't know, it'd be cool if they would just like fly SN16 or something, but I don't think they could use
that'd be awesome.
16.
Hey, could you skip ahead to the can crusher picture?
Oh, hey, we got wow, thanks, Rocket Profit. We got a $25 donation from Rocket Profit.
Oh, wow.
Thank you. Love the in-depth review of OLC and Starbase. Thank you. Glad you guys are enjoying this. We're, it's our only second time doing this, but we're definitely liking the feedback, and glad you guys are enjoying this content.
And if I may, all the super chats that send a donation, you can either send me a DM or so I can send you the Dropbox link for all these photos that we just looked over. It's a total of 300.
Yeah, I don't even know how far into it I am. Do we have a SpaceX contact for security? I think we need one.
I think I have one.
I don't think we made it to 300. We're about 150 through. We're barely halfway through.
Yeah, I think so. Talk a lot.
Yeah. Wide bay construction. And there's a couple of high bay pictures. But yeah. Yep, there's that stairwell. Golden Boy, can you skip ahead to the can crusher? I think those are some impressive pics to.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all impressive pics, but
more parts of that facility that are being delivered. These are stands for large tanks to sit on top of.
Yep. This is next quarter's project.
Yes. Q1 goals. Make your own methane. Huh. Sorry that I'm clicking through these so fast, guys. I know.
Pause real quick right there. Oh, there we go. I have been studying lately a lot of air gas separation, and let me say, it's quite the rabbit hole and very interesting. A lot of compression and filtering and all that. So here we have the can crusher, and it's on a test article. I forget the number of the article, but the idea is that they're testing how much force they can put on the booster to simulate it holding up a starship and launching. So all these cables are being ratcheted down while it's pressurized to simulate that. It's really quite the feat of engineering.
Yeah, the thing about this is I think they switched these out. I believe these are new. Because they have already done one test of the can crusher, and after it was over, I'm pretty sure that these didn't look like this. They switched them out, and there's a small chance they even switched out the test tank, honestly, because they moved one over to the front of the Sanchez site the other day.
Really?
Yes, actually.
I can't believe we missed that. If that is true. And if you zoom in closely on the knots, Maria Pointer, naval officer, had a lot to say about how nicely they had done a professional job of tying up those knots there.
Check this out.
What? I did not see that.
I think I was the only one who saw this, honestly. I couldn't like speed it up fast enough to shrink the video down, so I never ended up posting it. But here we go. Going for
there you go.
I love this video. This thing was moving. You can see like going over the bumps right now. It's like back and forth. Look at it. Oh my god. I love this video.
Going on a little walkabout.
A little walk. So I don't know. The thing is, I don't know if this was the one that was on there, or if this is a different one. I think they may have switched it out. I think this is the one that they were testing. These guys.
The Mouser's saying it's the same test tank. That's B6, and it's still right there.
Oh man. Well, there goes that speculation.
And Grandpa Joe, you were looking at B2.1 test tank earlier.
Is that the one on the stand with the ropes?
I believe so.
Very good. Thank you.
All right, that's enough of that.
And while you guys are here, you want to thank Rocket Profit for becoming an RGB flight supporter?
What? Rocket, thank you very much. We appreciate all the support, sir. Yeah. All y'all's donations definitely help keep this running, keep the pictures coming.
Yeah, so B6 was the one going on the walk. Thank you, everybody.
I had a question. That test tank right there. After the first test, did it buckle just a bit? I think I saw photos of it slightly bent.
I don't know.
I heard that, but I saw a simulation of it, but I didn't see it actually happen in real life.
Yeah, I wonder if they closed the road down when they did this test or not.
I believe they closed down Remedios, and that was because of the tank was pressurized to 6 bar and was being tested possibly to failure.
It looks like we got another donation from Mighty Don Don, 30 euros. Thank you.
30 euros, man. Thank you very much.
Euro, right?
Pounds.
Thank you,
30
Mighty
pounds,
Don Don.
yeah?
Pounds. God, so uneducated, guys.
That money will go to educating Golden Boy on the difference between a pound and a euro and Brexit.
And there is a question. How tall is each ring on the booster and ship?
1.822 meters. Each ring is comes on a roll exactly that wide, and yep, that's how tall they are.
For those who don't know, I don't do math when I'm not at work, and GPJ actually does all my math for me because.
And Mauricio, Dave actually confirmed there was lots of buckling.
Lots of buckling?
That's what Mr. Avery says. And then Phila Kid says it bent the lower ring. And even Rohan says it buckled.
Oh, sorry. I just noticed a question from Frank Sperber that I'm thinking about. I expect SpaceX will remove the igniter system for the outer Raptor engines. They're now part of the OLP. I don't think so. I think that they're pretty much locked into having the same QD setup on Raptor 2. So, I mean, I don't think there's any way that they can change that. They'd have to change out the actual QDs inside the table to match whatever they do to the Raptor 2s. They're also pretty much locked into having 20 engines on the outside. So, on the outside ring, like there's no way that they can change that at this point. Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see like what they do with that. And again, I wish that Elon would have sent us a picture of that for Christmas because, we keep hearing about these Raptor 2s, but we never actually see them. So I don't believe they exist. It's just a rumor. Hyping us up.
And Chrome Kiwi joined as an early access RGV patron.
What was that?
Mr. Chrome Kiwi has joined the RGV early access team.
Oh, hello, Chrome Kiwi. Wow, we have so many new members in here. Love to see that. This is dude, this is such a great picture. It's like right when the sun came out. Started to come out. I just can't believe they still let people get this close. This is amazing. There we go. Yeah, I think I need to make another trip down there before they close this down. What do you say, Grandpa Joe? Should we make a trip to Starbase?
Absolutely. I'll be down there anytime, sir.
Hold you to it. This is really interesting, actually. Something I wanted to touch on. These staircases right here that they're assembling on the side of the high bay. Really confusing. I'm not really sure if this is the exterior one for the high bay and if it's going to be stacked on top of each other or if it's like a double staircase or not. Like, it's weird. I'm not sure what's going on here. They could also be for the wide bay. Oh, we got another donation from Jim Cavett. Cool stream, guys. Hope to see more. Thank you.
Yep, definitely hope to keep producing these.
Uh-oh.
Oh, I love the little nose cone off to the side there. They're still constructing it, but boy, it's looking a little rough.
It's funny how
I think it does look rough, in my opinion. I saw some people say that it looks really good compared to Ship 20, and I disagree. But I don't know if we have maybe a closer picture. Yep, here we go. I don't know. I mean, the way that some of these are uneven, like I don't. Down here, you can see that they're not really like flush with each other. I mean, it looks good. It's just I still expect a little bit better on this, just because
Yeah.
I don't think that I don't see why they wouldn't all be flush. It doesn't make sense. The ones that aren't flush to me are the ones that are going to pop off when they do the static fire.
Booster 20 looked pretty rough too, but I mean, and the nose cone is always going to be a little bit harder to get right with those flat pieces on a curved piece.
Right.
But these are all the welds are placed by robots as precisely as possible, more precise than humanly possible. So I think this is about as good as this manufacturing process will get. That said, they're constantly seeking to improve.
So this is something that I've kind of explained before that some people disagree with me on, but I'll kind of explain it again. So my theory on what's happening with these numbers, it was actually T-Liv who pointed this out to me for the first time. So you can see that the numbers actually count up as you go up the ship, and you'll see 20, 20, like every row will have duplicate numbers along the row. And so what I think is happening here is that there's roughly, let's see, we got up to 30 something. I think there's 60 of them.
I think they get up to 50 plus.
Yeah. So basically on the main barrel of the Starship, almost all of those tiles are the same, except for some of the ones that are at the joints, which are like half tiles. But when you get up to the nose, what I think is happening here is that there are 55 different tile shapes for the nose. And so somewhere in a box, there's probably 55 different boxes with these tiles marked inside of them. And when they're filling in these gaps, they use these numbers to figure out which tile that they need to grab. So they mark them occasionally. I think they mark them when they're in the box and before they put them on the actual nose cone. So this makes it so the reason that you would need this, in my opinion, is because in order to have the nose taper inwards, these lines right here on the top are going to have to be shorter than these edges. So that's
or within tolerance there. But yeah, it'd be better if they were shorter.
So basically the bottom edges, I think, are longer than the top edges, and that's what allows it to cave inwards, a concave shape. And so they change as you go up, and it's very hard to. I don't even know if you can if there's even a way of being able to tell most of them. I don't think you can even measure it this without physically having one to really be able to see that difference. You can see up here where it changes, but as you go up, they're gonna have to shrink, and you can see what they're doing here too. These are reducer rows right here, actually. So almost every row has the same amount of tiles on it because it has no choice.
They're uniform width, but
exactly.
They get skinnier, or they're uniform count, but they get taller and skinnier.
Yeah, and this row up here is actually used to reduce the amount of tiles in a row.
One of the things I found most interesting is that the people who started rendering this had to do that in order to get it to render properly. And then a month after that, they found this in real life happening. With that, Zach Goldenboy, we are running out of time, and we're going to have to wrap up. This has been a wonderful rocket talk. I just want to thank everyone for joining us today. We'd like to thank Mauricio and the RGB aerial photography team, including Techno Dino, Hoppy, Procky, and Jax. And
Indian
special
Star.
thanks to you, Zach. You know, you really lead the effort and the research, and we appreciate everything you do. And of course, the wonderful Jeff and Indian Star for music and commentary and coordination.
Both
Takes a
As well
whole
as you,
team to get
GPJ.
this on. And I show up and ask silly questions because I don't know as much as anybody else.
Did we leave out Spoiled Sport?
We'll talk about that one later.
Okay. Well, let's see. I think the other thing I wanted to do is thank all the people who kind of like helped me put all the stuff that I do together on Twitter. So, you know, a lot of things like I've been a RGV patron for like over a year, and I've been like a tier 5 patron for pretty much that entire time. So I do have like a massive gallery of both RGB and Starship Gazer pictures, which kind of helps me like figure out half the things that I do. But I definitely get a lot of help from people within my Discord server as well too. So I want to give a special shout out to them for always being so quick with the information that we're trying to quickly show to people. So yeah, thank you guys. And again, thank everybody else for being here on a Saturday, New Year's Day, actually, to go over these pictures with us. And like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Mauricio, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yes, definitely. It's been a pleasure to do this with you guys, and I want to hear from the viewers in the comment section. How often do you guys think that we should be doing these photography reviews of Starbase? That's my question to you guys. And just before I forget, I got a notification here. We got Dylan Frankel. He just sent me a donation here through PayPal. So thank you, Dylan, if you're watching. And in case you missed it, announcement, we're doing a flyover this Tuesday, January 4th at 10 a.m., weather dependent. So just keep an eye out for that for all the members. I'll send you the Dropbox link once it becomes live. And if you want to become a Patreon, I don't know if one of the mods can post the Patreon link below. That way, you can get the latest flyover gallery once it becomes live. And you will also have access to all the past flyovers that I've done in the past. This is going to be this past flyover, it was my 69th flyover. And Tuesday is going to be my 70th. How do you say it? I'm getting a
70th.
little bit too 70th.
Congratulations.
So it's hopefully we make it up
Nice.
to 100. I don't know how many we'll do this year, but yeah, we definitely do them. We try and do the flyovers once a week, and I try and go out there and do ground photography about once, sometimes twice a week. So definitely have enough content to be doing these on a. Hopefully, we can do them once a week if possible. I'm thinking twice a week. I don't
Somebody
know what
say
you guys think.
24/7. Oh man, that would be tough. 24/7 Starship coverage, huh?
We have that. It's called the
Yep.
Lab Padre view.
You never know.
Yeah,
We
big
do.
shout out to Lab Padre too. Lab Padre streams Starbase 24. I'm pretty sure everybody's heard about him. Also Starship Gazer. He's also photographing from the ground. I've never actually had the chance to meet him. We should probably get him on here, to talk to him. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think so.
Absolutely.
And you think somebody can just post his Twitter link below?
Yeah, actually, I was going to
follow
mention
him?
that. So make sure you guys, we have all of our Twitter handles at the bottom. So if you guys haven't already, make sure you give us a follow on Twitter. We definitely post a lot of stuff during the week as far as like updates that happen, on the daily. So if you want to stay up to date on that stuff and kind of hear about everything before it actually happens, don't forget to, give us a follow. And I think somebody, Rocket Launch today just posted the link for Starship Gazer's Twitter in the comments. So make sure you guys follow him if you're not already. And yeah, again, like I said, thank you guys for being here. It's really really awesome to have such a large crowd on a Saturday here to just learn about Starship stuff. So definitely appreciate you guys.
All right. Well, plan for either next Thursday or Saturday. We'll see and what we can schedule it. And yeah, looking forward to it.
Yes. And thank you guys and Happy New Year. Take care.
Happy New Year's.
Happy New Year.
Bye.